Breaking news as we come on the air at 6. Governor Mike Dunleavy has officially signed the Alaska fiscal year 2027 budget into law. Couple top numbers that you want to know about. The $1,000 PFD remains the same, and the $200 energy relief rebate, that remained the same as well. You're going to receive both of those amounts in the same check. And with the budget signing, tens of millions of dollars have been vetoed from the state general funds. We are working as a team here in the newsroom to figure out what projects and what that means. But the signing also marks additional investments into school infrastructure, including about $24 million to Mount Edgecombe School. And in a statement, Dunleavy says he's addressing overdue capital needs in schools across the state. He went on in his release tonight saying, quote, while the state realized additional revenue, those same price pressures placed a real burden on school districts, particularly in rural Alaska. This budget makes targeted, responsible use of a temporary revenue increase to stabilize school facilities and address energy costs, end quote. And in that, he's referring to the uptick in oil prices that the state legislature negotiated with due to the conflict in Iran in the back half of this year's legislative session. A couple other vetoes we are clear on. There was one position eliminated from Mount Edgecombe High School, which was confirmed to us by the governor's office. Funding for Head Start grants and child care benefits were also vetoed. But again, there's about $24.2 million for deferred maintenance for Mount Edgecombe. Again, the money vetoed to that school was just for one position. The budget also provides $57 million for the Disaster Relief Fund, according to the governor's office, and $60.6 million for the Fire Suppression Fund. Governor Dunleavy is termed out from seeking re-election. He's got about 6 months left in office as the governor of Alaska. Tonight, we requested an interview to talk about his decisions, these vetoes. He declined, and an individual from his office that we called to explain the budget was on a plane and unavailable. But we are working to crunch some numbers and get a little bit deeper into what this budget means, and we'll have more details on that decision tonight on the Late Edition. Our Rebecca Palsha also has an article on our website right now with all of the updates. And new tonight, the family of a paddleboarder who lost his life at Turnagain Arm is making sure no one forgets his passions and the person he was. And tonight, we talked to a witness who saw what happened to Josh Novakovich, as we also get a more detailed timeline of the rescue efforts from the Girdwood Fire Department and people nearby.
Hello.
This is Josh Novakovich, living life with his friends when he was younger. Josh's uncle, Mike, wrote on Facebook that the 25-year-old loved life, his family, and everything about Alaska. Mike wrote, on Friday, Josh went paddleboarding with his girlfriend in Turnagain Arm. He never came home.
The water was cold, and the amount of energy out there is insane.
Surfer Tom Kazad was in the water that same day.
It was like riding a wild rapid.
Kazad says those conditions made it hard even for experienced surfers to stay upright.
None of us really stood up.
When Kazad and his group got to shore, they spotted Josh.
We just focused in on him the whole time, and we watched him get off the sandbar and then start to try to paddle.
For almost 2 hours, Josh was on the phone with his girlfriend and his dad. Kazad said they could hear him fighting the water.
She lost contact with him, and within minutes after that, we lost contact with being able to see him with these high-powered binoculars.
Kazad also launched a drone to help with the search.
What I see too there is a lot of the locals help each other out.
Girdwood Fire and Rescue said an air rescue was requested at 10:31 p.m. since there is no location to boat launch. They were told no air rescue resources were available and made a decision to launch a boat, which they said was a high risk. After carrying the boat down 30 to 40 feet of rocks and reassembling it, they searched for Josh.
The boat, once they hit the water, they couldn't see him.
Girdwood crews stayed on location search until 6 in the morning on Saturday. Crews then went back out around 9 through the day with no luck.
I feel for the family, and this is nobody's fault at all, but it's just things weren't in place.
Kazad says he's sharing his story to keep others safe. Josh's uncle Mike ended his post with this: every beauty we see in nature will remind us of him and the knowledge that he's close by, smiling and happy. Danny Tompkins, Alaska's news source.
Federal investigators are working on getting more details after a commercial plane in the Brooks Range made an emergency landing with 10 people on board. Everyone survived. Nobody was hurt. The NTSB says the pilot was flying a Wright Air Cessna Caravan from Fairbanks to Coldfoot. Investigators say the pilot reported weird noises and started to surge shortly after takeoff. Investigators say the pilot tried turning around to get back to Coldfoot, but the plane couldn't maintain altitude, forcing the hard landing. We're told rescue crews responded very quickly. Alaska's news source is trying to get in contact with a passenger who was on board, who recorded video of the entire thing. We hope to bring you that video as soon as possible. And tonight, after a brief cool down, the clouds are clearing. Chief Meteorologist Melissa Price here with what we can expect for the rest of what's become a really mixed week. Melissa.
Yeah, Augusta, we're going to see those temperatures climbing, clouds clearing, more sunshine on the way for the second half of the week. We are still seeing those dry conditions across the interior, and actually it's prompting red flag warnings in effect. This is for the Kotlik Valley area where we are seeing just temperatures in the upper 70s and low 80s. We are seeing very dry conditions, then those winds picking up a little bit. A few cells developing just to the west of this area and to the east there as well. I'm not seeing any lightning from that just yet, so good news there. We're otherwise seeing relatively quiet conditions across the state. 60 at Anchorage, 64 in Palmer, back into those mid-60s for Fairbanks. Ketchikan holding on at 61 degrees this evening. And aside from a few showers pushing across the central Aleutians and another batch of rain moving into southeast, we're going to hold on to that quiet weather for most of the state all the way through the end of the week. So tonight, briefly dropping into those upper 40s near Anchorage, and then tomorrow it's warm, back up to 67 at Fairbanks. You're headed back to the mid-70s, partly sunny for you. Juneau, some morning rain showers, but I do expect some clearing into the afternoon with highs in the low 60s. And Beth, a little bit more cloud cover pushing into the southwest coast, but still warm. Highs for you back into the upper 60s. And we'll take a closer look at that extended forecast, including the weekend, here in a few minutes.
After decades of advocacy, Alaska is breaking ground on its first state-granted veterans cemetery. It will give Interior Alaska's veterans a place to be buried close to home with full military honors. Adrian Peterson details the project's timeline.
After being secured last year, construction on a veteran cemetery in Alaska is now underway. The $16.7 million investment marks a major milestone, giving Interior Alaska its first VA-funded cemetery.
We never ever dreamed it would take 20 years, but one thing I know about veterans and the people that honor veterans is that we never quit.
The dream started in the early 1970s when Fairbanks veteran Joe Fields proposed a cemetery for the interior. Legislation passed in 2007, but finding the right location, securing federal funding, and meeting VA standards took another 14 years.
When you want something that's good, that's going to last forever, it's going to take a while. And I think today, as you look across this site, you can see exactly why it's going to take a while. This is a beautiful place.
A groundbreaking was held June 20th, bringing together state and federal officials and supporters. The cemetery will accommodate 351 pre-placed crypts, 600 columbarium niches to hold urns, and 279 cremains gravesites in Phase 1. Construction is expected to wrap up by fall of 2027, but when it's finished, some hope it stands as more than a place to be laid to rest.
I hope it's also a place where we can teach history, especially the history of Alaska's sacrifice in our wars and with our citizens.
The earliest burials are expected to come in spring of 2028. Adrian Peterson, Alaska's news source.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.